right-wing podcast host Charlie Kirk is apparently trying to get his fans killed. On his recent Thought Crime podcast, Kirk, while reading the script for an at-home health medication website, has instructed his audience to stop going to the hospital. He said, "I have a whole, I'm not there yet, unfortunately, because it's still ongoing. I'm going to a whole show on the things I've learned in the American hospital system. You do not want to go to a hospital. You do not want to go to a hospital, everybody. I'm going to do everything I can to avoid a hospital." Now, look, I was under the impression that most of us already try to avoid the hospital. Look, nobody wants to go to the hospital, aside from the massive costs associated to it, because it is the American healthcare system, which is prohibitively expensive. It's also the fact that if you're going to the hospital, usually that means you're dealing with some sort of an emergency, a health emergency. Not good. That said, Charlie Kirk is not saying, hey, practice healthy habits so that you make sure that you don't end up in the hospital. No. That's not what Charlie Kirk's talking about, okay? No, he's just saying, just completely avoid the hospital at all. Even in a medical emergency, don't go. Well, no, wait a minute. That sounds pretty dangerous. That's not good advice. What are you supposed to do if you're in an accident? Refuse to go? Or maybe if you're one of the, victims of this country's many mass shootings, you're just gonna say, no, I'm cool, dog. I'll just try to stop the bleeding from my bullet hole, my bullet wound, myself. I'm not gonna go to the hospital. No. What if you have cancer? Need to do radiation, do therapy, things like that. There are some things that you can't really treat at home. Now, if you can, that's great, but there are things that you can't. All right, no matter how many questionable remedies you order online and have shipped to your door, at some point you're going to have to go to the hospital. I know it sucks, right? Now, here's the thing. I read this and I'm like, what is this? Like, what is he talking about? Like, why not go to the hospital system? Again, other than the, incredibly high costs and things like that, okay, that does not really strike me as Charlie Kirk's major concern, which got me to thinking, what if this has to be related to the things that he's been saying, the attacks on DEI and Martin Luther King Jr., right? The idea of having Black medical professionals. Look, Charlie Kirk is racist, okay? In fact, recently, I'm going to show you a video here where he and his fellow hosts went after Black pilots.
No, I mean, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a Black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the
you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
But that's not who I am. Actually, no, that is who you are. And I love the guy who was like, oh, that's just the reality the left has created. No, your racism is not the fault of the left. All right. Sorry to disappoint you, man. But your racism, that's you. That's on you. Okay. No, here's the thing. They want you to believe that DEI, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, right? It means taking random Black people off the street and making them pilots and doctors. Okay? That's not what happens. That's not the reality, unsurprisingly, right? Each pilot, each doctor, or any professional, they have the same level of training, the same level of education. What DEI is saying, hey, we've got a very large group of qualified people, right? How about we be more inclusive of our hiring, right? There's no reason not to be inclusive if they have the same training. They're all qualified doctors, pilots, nurses, etc. So let's be a little bit more diverse about it, right? That's it. Now, Charlie, what he does is he makes the assumption that any Black person getting hired for any job is a result of them actually not being good enough to make it on the merits, but because of some artificial system like affirmative action, DEI, etc. Now, the thing is, in reality, qualified Black people have a history of being passed over for jobs, careers, simply because of the fact that they're Black. That's it. In fact, Harvard Business School's Dina Girdman wrote an article back in 2017 highlighting that minorities, when that minorities will whiten their resume in order to get interviews. The same qualifications, the same information, except they leave out mentions of their race or anything that could lead to them being, identified as Black or Asian. They found that employer callbacks for resumes that were whitened actually fared much better in the application pile than those that included ethnic information, even though the qualifications were identical, equally qualified to white applicants. Black people passed over. 25% of Black candidates received callbacks from their whitened resumes, while only 10% got calls when they left their ethnic details intact. This is very clear what's going on here. You have people that are equally qualified for these jobs that are passed over simply because of the fact that they are Black or Asian. Okay? Now, examples of how to whiten their resume. We're dropping the word Black from a membership in a professional society for example, Black engineers. As if Black engineers are less qualified than white engineers. No, they're equally qualified. Others would erase things like a scholarship from an HBCU from their resume because of the fear of revealing their race could sabotage their ability to get hired so early on in the process that they would automatically kick out their resumes because, we don't want Black people working here. Now, that's institutional racism. That's workplace discrimination. This is the stuff that DEI is trying to correct. This is a problem that DEI is here to fix, not create another problem. Showing that Black and other minorities are just as qualified for these jobs as everyone else, as anyone else is. All right? And making sure that they get hired based on those qualifications. All right? DEI does not mean that any random Black or Asian person or Hispanic person that you pull off the street is going to get that job that they're not qualified for. No. They go through a list of people with those qualifications and they say, is that a Black candidate? Is that an Asian candidate? Are we diverse enough in our hiring? Are we giving enough people in these communities a chance to make it? And if we're not, then we should rectify that. Now, it's not saying that white applicants aren't as qualified either. It's just saying that, hey, we would like to reflect diversity in our country, in our culture, in our communities by making sure that we give people who haven't been given a chance to have that chance, all based on the same qualifications. That's it. They're just giving people a foot in the door. So, look, I don't know if this is why Charlie Kirk is telling people not to go to the hospital, but it doesn't seem like it's that far of a stretch to say that this person who is deeply racist and says deeply racist things, believes deeply racist things, was telling people, I'm really worried about Black pilots now taking aim at the hospital system who employs Black people, all right, in a variety of different positions, now saying, well, the hospital system, don't go to the hospital. Completely separate yourself out because, I don't know, maybe you might run into a Black person. Again, that's my assumption. But it doesn't seem like much of a stretch, okay, for someone as deeply racist as Charlie Kirk. His apparent quest to stick it to Black people for attempting to, do jobs that they're qualified for, it is kind of ironic that in that, he will likely lead his followers into attaining not healthcare, but the Darwin Award. Hey, man, if you want to kill off your own followers by giving them terrible advice, who am I to stop you?